Alright, so here's the deal. I'm in the shop because I'm running out of places to hide the bent spoons. So what I've done is I bought an ice cream scoop head. I got this through exoticblanks.com, and it's the classic scoop with a 3/8 inch thread. So now the chore is, what are we going to use for handle material? I want to make a handle, but I don't want it to be just any old handle. I want it to scream ice cream. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take resin, and I'm going to mix it up to look just like my favorite flavors, chocolate vanilla swirl. And we're going to pour a handle, and then I'm going to show you how I epoxy the threaded insert in, and we'll turn it on the lathe, and hopefully have a big bowl of ice cream when we're done. Here's how we do it. So we're using Alumilite Clear Slow, and I've weighed out part A and B in equal amounts by grams. I've then cut my tubes for the 1.5 inch vertical casting rack, and I've inserted the top and bottom of those. They'll now go in the rack. I'm going to mark on the side of the tube how deep I want to pour on the outside. So now I have all of that ready. Now it's time to mix this. Alright, now I'm going to start with the thinnest side, A, and pour it in the bowl first. I always find that it's easiest to mix the thick into the thin. I'm going to put B in, and again we're using Alumilite Clear Slow. I'm using Clear Slow because if I use anything that cures too quickly, with the volume that we're pouring, it could possibly crack. So we want to use something that cures a little slower. Now I'm going to divide my resin for color. So I've got white and brown, and that will be for my vanilla and my chocolate. Now there's all sorts of colors and dyes out there you can use. I'm starting with the white. You just kind of have to put it in there and look and see. How I judge my color depth is I put my stick against the side wall and I slowly move it away. If it disappears, I know I have enough dye in it. We're going to actually stir this with the drill. I just like to get it off the stick. And again, the drill bit disappears the minute I pull it away from the sides. So I feel like our color's pretty good. I'm going to add some brown. And because this is a longer working time with this resin, it's 12 minutes, it gives us more opportunity to play with the colors and get them correct without worrying about the resin setting up too quickly. And I can tell I'm going to need a little more brown in there, but I need to wipe the stick off before I go for more because I don't want to put resin inside the dye. I'm going for that chocolate look. Let's see what this looks like mixed. And it's pretty good for chocolate. Now what I like to do, because this white is pretty white, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the drill bit with just a little bit of brown on it in here and stir that up. And that will just tone down that white and give it more of a vanilla look and less of a bright white. That bright white was just too much. And you can play with your colors. So there's all sorts of opportunity to tone them down a little bit, make them darker, whatever you want, whatever suits your desire. And in this case, I'm pretty happy with these colors. Our temperature is 76 degrees. So now we have to wait for these to hit about 95 degrees before I pour them. And the reason I'm going to do 95 degrees instead of say 100, 105 for really good color separation is because I want these to swirl around a little bit like you would have if your ice cream was melting. I don't want distinct separation where it's a glob that stops. I want it to move and flow in the mold a little bit. So now we're going to wait for this. Keep checking the temperature and stirring it a little bit as we wait. In a minute we hit around 95, maybe even 98 degrees, then we'll pour. Alright, so I've been watching the temperature, and I actually let this get to 100 degrees, and you'll see the thickness. You'll feel it as you stir it, but I think 100 degrees is pretty good for what I'm going for. If I were using clear instead of clear slow, I might pour a little earlier, but because this stuff is a slower curing resin, we let it go a little bit longer. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and just alternate colors. I think I'll start with the white. And then we're just going to alternate and move the stream around a little bit in there. That way we start adding a little character. Give it that melted chocolate, vanilla ice cream, maybe a soft serve look. And we'll just work our way up to the line. And I usually alternate at least 3 times in a pour. That way it will give me more character and those colors throughout the blank and not just in one area. Alright, we're pretty close to our lines. My lines were actually a ½ inch taller than what I needed them, so I know we're good. I marked them at 6½ inches. I marked them at 6½ inches. Most handle blanks are around 6 inches, so we've got plenty there. I'll wipe off the edges. Alright, now I'm going to put this in a pressure pot, pressure it up to about 50 pounds, and let it sit for 2½ hours to cure. Alright, it's been 2½ hours. Took the rack out of the pressure pot. These are our blanks. We got great color going on in there. Some really good swirl. So now what we're going to do is we're going to let these cure overnight. I'm going to pop these caps off. Now these are ready for next time. Tomorrow I'll trim this up. We'll face it, drill it, and then get it ready for turning. So the scoop that we're using has 3/8 inch threads that match these inserts. So the easiest thing to do is tap a hole, epoxy this in, and then we'll screw this onto our mandrel and we can remove the scoop head to clean it when needed. Alright, so we've tapped the hole. And our insert will fit fine because I marked it on the drill bit how deep. But if you've never made one of these before, you're going to find out that the insert actually threads on and there's still threads left. So now what we need to do is take a 3/8 inch bit and drill the center of this hole another ½ inch deeper. That way, when all of this is threaded on, we have enough room for our threads to go past the insert and hold securely up flush where we need it. So now I'm going to swap this out, put a 3/8 inch bit, and drill this another ½ inch deeper. Alright, there we go. Now I'm using 2-part epoxy, and I'm going to use this to glue this piece in. It's a 5-minute epoxy, but I'm going to let it set overnight before I turn it. What I want to do now is I want to put it around this. I'm wearing nitrile gloves because this is the messy part. You don't want to get glue inside it, but it's okay if it's messy on the outside because you want it to hold in that hole. So I'm probably using a little more than I need. Now what I'm going to do is come in here on top, let it just kind of fall in, and there'll be a little excess on top. I'll wipe that away. The reason I didn't put it in the hole and drop the threads in is because, remember, I had to drill that deeper so that the threads on the bottom of the scooper have somewhere to go. I didn't want to fill that with epoxy. So I left it, I allowed it to come out the top as opposed to fill the bottom of the hole. I can look in there and see we're good. Now I'm going to let that set up overnight, and then I will lightly hit this on my belts or my disc sander just to smooth everything out real nice for the transition. And because the scooper has a flange, it'll cover the threads in the epoxy bond, and you won't see that, but we want to clean that up. So I've already faced this on the lathe to make sure that it's nice and flat and smooth, but we'll definitely want to just bump that on the belt sander before we turn that down. Alright, it's the next day, and the epoxy has set up on this brass knurled nut here that's embedded inside the end of this handle blank. So that will allow me to use my bottle stopper hand drill mandrel. It's threaded on one end, it's got the Morse taper on the other. So it will thread right into my insert, and then once it's fully threaded on, I'll be able to pop it in here, support it with the tailstock, turn it down to shape. I'm not going to make you watch me turn this blank down because we all have our own style of shapes and coves and beads and all that stuff we like to add. So I'm going to turn this down and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, now I've got it turned, and I'm going to take it to the buffing wheel. I'm going to leave it on the mandrel when I buff it, that way I don't have to worry about dropping it and getting my hands in the way. Alright, I've removed the mandrel. I've screwed on the head of the ice cream scooper, and there we have it, our chocolate vanilla ice cream scooper. Now it's time to go try this little baby out.